Hello students, in this module we will be doing the introduction of chapter 8 of your history, that is medieval India, the Delhi Sultanate. Now here when we start this chapter, let's see what are the important things that we'll be doing in this particular module. So here we see the important things are under the Delhi Sultanate. First thing that we'll be doing is the sources of information. How do we come to know about various things about this dynasty, about the Delhi Sultanate? Remember, when we talk about Delhi Sultanate and the Mughal dynasties, the Mughal dynasty is one of the dynasty which has been ruling from the has ruled over here in the Delhi Sultanate. But in together, all together, all the dynasties, all the various kingdoms which flourished here, they can be taken under the Delhi Sultanate. So here we will be talking about Delhi Sultanate during the time of the slave dynasty and how the other five different dynasties flourished here. So it is the sources of inscription, the sources of information are first the inscriptions that we have found, and then the monuments, and we will be doing in detail about one of the monument which belongs to the Mughal age, and that is Qutub Minar. Besides that, under the slave dynasty we will be doing about the first particular king, that is Qutubuddin Aibak, who started the slave dynasty, or we can even call as the Mamluk dynasty. Mamluks basically is the word which means owned, or you can say as he was once a slave general, that is why the dynasty has been named as the slave dynasty or the Mamluk sultans. After that, we can even see that what were the various dynasties which followed slave dynasty under the Delhi Sultanate, and they are, first we had the slaves dynasty, then the Khiljis, then came the Tughlaqs, Sayyids, and the Lodi dynasty. Here we are going to do in detail about Mamluks as well as the various sources of information of the about the Delhi Sultanate. Now let's begin with it. We can say that there are numerous small kingdoms during the 10th and the 11th centuries somewhere near the northern part of India, and because of the absence of any particular central government, this entire this entire region was always in conflict with various kings fighting for more areas, more power, more dominion, and so just to show their strength. This lack of political unity was largely responsible for quick victories later onwards, and these victories were majorly done by the people, the Turks, who came from the outer side of the country. And when the Turks came, they started their conquests in the 11th and the 12th centuries. However, the empire was established in the 13th century onwards. And here we see that the period between 1206 to 1526, that has been the total area of these invasions, and supposedly we can say the Delhi Sultanate to be established, flourishing, and then later onwards coming to the downfall by the 16th 17th century onwards, we see when the British started emerging to the scenario. Here we'll not focus on that, we'll focus on how this particular Sultanate, Delhi Sultanate, started somewhere around the 13th century, and it was so called because the rulers of various dynasties ruled the capital at Delhi, and that is why all these dynasties were called as a part of the, or as the Delhi Sultanate, because Delhi was their capital and they were sultans of Delhi. On the whole, Delhi was the capital city. Now when we talk about the Delhi Sultanate, first and foremost the important thing is for any particular historical chapter is where do we get the study material about these particular things, what are the sources of information. So when we talk about the sources of information about the Delhi Sultanate, first we talk about the inscriptions. When we talk about inscriptions, we see inscriptions are valuable supplements and not the sole source of information. That means they do not give you the complete information, but yes, they do give you a lot of tidbits of information through which it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You match up the things and you get the clear picture, and that is how they give you the informations from here and there, and you have to understand and comprehend whatever the information you get through these sources of history or information of history. The inscriptions are found on various things, like here we can say there are many coins, monuments, milestones, and even the tombstones. So in all these places people usually had to write a lot of things, and whatever they have written, that has been deciphered if they are in the different languages, or otherwise they have been noted down if they are in a comprehensible writing or in a particular language which is understandable by most of the people. For example, first coin issued by Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khilji was something that bared Arabic and Sanskrit inscriptions. So we get an idea that people over there had a lot of knowledge about Sanskrit as well as Arabic. Otherwise, nobody would have understood those coins. So coins are something which is are in general, everybody has to understand it, and that is why we can say Arabic and Sanskrit written on the coins means that something really common was there on the coins, and so Arabic and Sanskrit was really common during that particular time. So we can understand such certain things from various of the inscriptions written on various things. The famous traveler Ibn Battuta, you must have heard the name. Ibn Battuta noticed a commemorative inscription in the Jama Masjid in Delhi, which he deciphered, and when he deciphered it, he got a lot of information about various things during that particular era, during the community, during the social life, during that particular time period, and about the ruler and his kingship. Next, we see about the monuments. As inscriptions are the written things, also on the monuments and various other places, the monument itself tells a lot of information about the not only the architecture but the riches, or maybe the type of culture that was flourishing during that time, what kind of a king or kingship was there during that time, religious, secular, or maybe brutal, maybe very related to art and patronizing art and culture, or something. In the monuments a lot of pictures and things are drawn, written about the achievements of the king. So these all things tell a huge information about the entire, you can say, all various spheres of life and society, how the construction was done, what kind of technology was there. All those things can be understood by the monuments. Here we see the monuments of this particular Delhi Sultanate may be something that reveal not only the cultural trends of the period but also the living conditions of the people during that particular time period. And along with that, what were their faiths and beliefs. And faith and belief does not really mean only the religious beliefs and faiths. It also means in the general scenario their faith and beliefs in the society, the culture, superstition, or whatever the mindset were of the society. The most significant of these monuments of the Delhi Sultanate is Qutub Minar, and here we talk about it. It was constructed by Qutbuddin Aibak and was dedicated to a Sufi saint. Now you should remember this name, keep it in your copy somewhere, or you can highlight it in your book. It is Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki. This was the Sufi saint in honor of whom Qutbuddin Aibak had made this Qutub Minar, and that is why Qutub Minar is not named after Qutbuddin Aibak. It is named after the saint for whom it was dedicated or built, and that is Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, who was greatly venerated by this particular saint, was greatly revered by most of the people in India and Delhi especially at that time. The structure was completed by Iltutmish. Its special features are as follows. I'll read them out for you. When it was originally made, it rose to a height of 71 meters with 4 stories, and it was damaged by lightning in around 1379. So when it was damaged, once again it was rebuilt, and its repairs and renovations were done by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So you should remember who did the renovations. It was started by Qutbuddin Aibak, it was completed by Iltutmish. But the renovations and repairs after the lightning and breakdown and wear and tear, so all that renovation was done by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, who further raised its height. That means he added a 5th story to it and made it a 5-story building, and each story has separated with the other by a projecting balcony. That means after every particular story, wherever the roof of one story end is there, you can see a balcony, and then from that balcony starts the 2nd story, and then with another balcony the 3rd story, and so on. So we have 5 stories. The entrance is through the doorway on the northern side of the Minar, Qutub Minar. It is not a 4-sided thing. It is not a minaret that ways. It is a circular minar, and it towers to a height of the minar is a circular tower and about 13.8 meters in diameter. 13.8 meters, that means almost approximately 14 meters. So you can understand 1 meter is almost 3 feet, so you can multiply 14 into 3. That is the diameter, the entire area of the circular minar. So that is, it is that broad, and at the summit it has its width is 3 meters. That means almost 9 feet in the circular right on top. the highest point. So that is how the entire circular minar goes from broader to the leanest, you can say, and it is circular in that construction. It has 5 stories. It has balcony after every particular story ending up. It has the door on the northern side. These are good enough points for you to write if ever you are asked to give the special features of Qutub Minar. Besides that, also some other information that you can note down about Qutub Minar is it is completely made up of red sandstone, marble and grey quartzite. And besides that, each of the tower has a projecting balcony. These balconies are supported in such a way that the whole structure takes the load of the weight. It is not made in a way that it leans to some place, or it is not particularly erected in a way proper way and dwindling. It is made in such a way, in well calculated construction, that it does not dwindle, it does not sway, and it is standing firm and properly strong in its place. Verses from Holy Quran have been written on this, and floral motifs are inscribed on this tower. That means the painting and decoration has been done, the calligraphy sort of thing. The verses in the calligraphy, all the verses are from the Quran. They have been inscribed, written over there, drawn over there, or inscribed on their walls. Besides that, floral motifs and prints have been used for the decoration. You can say the similar things are there in Taj Mahal also, but that is all on white marble. Here it is on the grey quartzite, and you can say your marble as well as sandstone. Majorly it is made up of sandstone. With this, we come to the end of the sources of information. There are many, but the important ones we have done: the inscriptions and Qutub Minar as one of the important monument of that particular era. Now here we move on to the proper topic, and that is the slave dynasty. Here we will be doing about the Mamluks, the Aibak dynasty, or you can say the dynasty started by Qutbuddin Aibak. Now it was started by him, but he was not the one who really ruled over there and conquered it and got it under his control. He was given it because, remember, he was a slave general. So it was given to him by the person, or by the ruler to whom he was the slave. Here we see, first of all, as I have given you here earlier, that there was 5 different particular dynasties who ruled over there during this particular Delhi Sultanate, under this particular Delhi Sultanate that we'll be doing. So here we see the 5 ruling dynasties were, first of all, the entire thing was started by the slave dynasty or by the Mamluks. Then came the Khiljis, and after that the Tughlaqs, Sayyids, and lastly the Lodis. Here we see Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghori was one who came, the Turkish warrior who came here, and he conquered many of the places, and he defeated Prithviraj Chauhan in the second battle of Tehran. That was in 1192, by the end of the 12th century. So Delhi passed into the hands of these rulers later. From Delhi, the Turkish rule was extended to the Gangetic plains of even Bihar and Bengal. So you can understand what a mighty warrior was Muhammad Ghori. He ruled and conquered most of the parts of India, from Delhi all the way going to the today's modern day Uttar Pradesh and Bihar area, and up till Bengal. He conquered and brought all that part under his domain. Now when he had started ruling it, it was the victorious Turks, before leaving for Afghanistan, decided to leave this particular region under the you can say supervision of their general, who was one among the slaves only, but he was a loyal slave, so he was raised to a level of general, and this was Qutbuddin Aibak. So when the Turkish Sultan went away, he left it into the hands, this entire area into the hands of Qutbuddin Aibak, and it was quite preconceived that the Turkish Sultan might not return. So as a result, we can say Qutbuddin Aibak instantly became the Sultan of this entire region of India, and he himself was a very good general. He was himself a very learned person of warfare and everything. So he became a very good ruler, and he became the ruler of this conquered land. This particular thing started the slave dynasty, as he was from the slaves, and as the slaves in the Arabic word basically means Mamluk. You can say Mamluk basically in the Arabic word means someone who was owned. Owned is basically a slave only. So that is why we say, as Qutbuddin Aibak was a slave, so he was called a Mamluk, and that is why the dynasty he started, or the rule he started, turned out to be called as, or referred as, the Mamluk dynasty. So the word Mamluk is taken as the owned or the slaves, and the dynasty is the Mamluk dynasty, since these sultans were earlier slaves. Now, to complete his master's work, Qutbuddin Aibak marked on a series of conquests and captured even further more areas into the empire, because his ruler, his king, that was Muhammad Ghori, wanted to have more and more territories included into his empire. So as a result, for his wish, Qutbuddin Aibak decided on various conquests and added many more areas into his empire, and these areas were, you can write down the names: Kalinjar in Bundelkhand, Anhilwara, or you can say capital of Solankis in Gujarat. And besides being a very capable military general and warrior, Qutbuddin Aibak was a man of letters. It does not mean that he kept on posting letters. It was basically he wrote many letters. Letters over here means many articles, many things that he wrote about various different concepts. That shows he was a laureate, or was a person of scholarly level, or you can say a particular patronizer, a person who patrons and promotes literature and various arts. His scholars like Hassan Nizami and Fakre Mudir, these were the people who adorned his court. They were the members of his court, and they were very good scholars of literature and things, poetries. Because of various distribution of money and donations that he used to give and offer every now and then to the needy people and to most of his people in his empire, he was also given a particular title, and that was Lakh Baksh. That means he used to give a lot of donations to the people. Qutbuddin Aibak laid the foundation of Qutub Minar in Delhi, and later onwards he named it after his saint whom he revered a lot, and that was Khwaja Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, which was later completed by Iltutmish in 1210. Aibak died of a sudden fall from a horse at Lahore while he was playing Chaugan. Chaugan is the older name of polo itself, a game similar to polo, you can say. So a great warrior who was not defeated in the wars, who was not hurt in the wars, basically he had to die in a very simple manner, and that was just by falling from his horse while he was playing Chaugan, and he died. And with this came to the end of the big you can say reign of a very effective ruler who was a very good general, very good warrior. And so Qutbuddin Aibak's rule came to an end. After his death, that is in 1210, later onwards it was a fight for his kingdom. Now Qutbuddin Aibak's son Aram Shah had succeeded him in 1211. Since Aram Shah was an incapable ruler, it was later that he was overthrown, and Iltutmish, the slave and son-in-law of Aibak, was taken as the ruler in place of Qutbuddin Aibak. So remember, Iltutmish is not his son but his son-in-law, and he was also a slave. That is why it is a slave giving a particular kingdom to his son-in-law, who himself was a slave. So Iltutmish did not consider his sons as capable. When he ruled, he also ruled properly. It is not given much over here in your books, but we have been reading about the main kings, and that is why we are doing one particular or two particular kings from one dynasty. Here we are only doing Qutbuddin Aibak. What we have to understand in this particular topic is Iltutmish, when he had ruled his kingdom and he was supposed to pass on his sultanate to some new person to be the sultan, he considered that all his sons were not capable enough to be the new rulers in place of him. He therefore nominated his daughter Razia to be the sultan, to be the successor. Now this was very modern as per that particular time era, because no particular kingdom had a woman taking up the rule of the father, no woman taking up the kingdom of her father, the rule after her father. And this was not even properly taken by the people of his kingdom also. The generals, they all opposed, the Turkish nobles and everyone opposed this, that how can a woman be the ruler and how can they bow to a woman taking her orders from a woman. So they crowned Iltutmish's son Ruknuddin as the new sultan. Remember the name, Ruknuddin was the one who was taken as the leader or the ruler. Now there are quite similarities between Qutbuddin and Iltutmish's rule. They both when they were supposed to pass on the rule, they did not want the rules to be passing on to their sons. But when Aram Shah was given, he was considered to be incapable, and the rule went to Iltutmish, the son-in-law. Similarly, when Iltutmish was supposed to give the rule, he felt that his son was not capable enough. Yet people or nobles decided and made Ruknuddin as the successor, but even he was found incapable. And when he was accepted as incapable to rule over the kingdom, within 7 months he was removed from the throne, and in his place Razia was made the first women sultan of the Delhi Sultanate in 1236. And with this, we came to the you can say end of the module. We are coming to the end of the module, but with this we can say that it was a very great major step during that particular time period that women ruler came into the Delhi Sultanate, or among the Mughal, or you can say even the Turkish rule itself. The Turkish rulers were not in favor of that, but once they accepted, Reza Sultan proved out to be one of the very great leaders of his dynasty, of her dynasty. And so here we see, with this we come to the end of the slave dynasty or the Mamluk dynasty. In the next module we will be doing the next dynasty, and that is the Khilji dynasty. You must have heard about Alauddin Khilji. Even recently you saw the movie Padmavat. Over there also it was the you can say depiction of Alauddin Khilji by Ranveer Singh. So we will be talking about his character and his dynasty over here in this Khilji dynasty. For today we finish off with this particular module. Thank you.